I'd like to call to order the Middletown City Council meeting for July 20th, 2021. If we can please start with a moment of meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Gang, can you please call the roll for us?
Ms. Vittori. Here. Ms. Nenny.
Here.
Mr. Moon.
Here.
Mr. Mulligan.
Here.
Mayor Condrey.
Here. Okay, this evening we have two different public hearings. We'll start first with the Plan Development Map Amendment request for a gas station at the intersection of Manchester Road and Dixie Highway.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So your request tonight, the first one is a preliminary development plan and zoning map amendment, a request by applicant Amerit Takar on behalf of the owner Healing Word Church for preliminary development plan approval for a gas station to be constructed on the property located at the southwest corner of Manchester Road and Dixie Highway, parcel ID 070-53260-230. If approved as a part of the plan development process, the property would be rezoned PD Plan Development District to acknowledge that there is a plan development associated with this property. So the first photo that you're looking at is the property itself at the corner of Manchester and Dixie Highway. The other photo is the speedway that is currently located across from the highway right there also at Manchester and Dixie. You might know the location. The Sawyer's Mill development is behind that. Staff analysis. The applicant proposes to construct a gas station with 5 pumps at the southwest corner of Manchester Road and Dixie Highway. Per the Warren County Auditor, the property is a total of 1.78 acres and is currently vacant and wooded. There is a Speedway gas station across the street, and it is out of city limits within Franklin Township. The property is currently zoned R2 Low Density Residential District. Per the Middletown Development Code, the purpose of the Plan Development District is to provide an opportunity for creative and flexible land development where a base zoning district will not accommodate the proposed development, but where such development will further the purpose of the Middletown Development Code and Master Plan. The PD district is designed to allow for deviations from certain zoning standards. As you can see, this is the zoning map showing the R2, and the star indicates approximately where that gas station would be located. The next slide shows the proposed site plan. The layout of the gas station, it would be fronting on Dixie Highway. For retail fuel sales, 1 parking space per 300 square feet of indoor floor area, plus 1 parking space per pump service bay. There are 15 parking spaces proposed that would meet our development code requirement. Gasoline pumps shall be set back a minimum of 20 feet from all lot lines and 50 feet from all adjacent residential lot lines. Canopies shall be set back a minimum of 10 feet from lot lines and 25 feet from all adjacent residential lot lines. This development plan here would meet those those requirements from the Middletown Development Code. The next slide shows example photos of what this gas station would look like if approved. It would be brick wrapped. It would have stucco. As you can see, this would be a Shell gas station. Middletown Master Plan. The subject property is located in the University North Brielle Opportunity Area. The master plan identifies that any uses in the gateway area at Dixie and Manchester should be supported with mixed-use commercial and residential development. High-quality building materials and architectural design is essential to create a gateway and sense of place for the surrounding neighborhood. The blue star, well, there was a blue star on mine anyways, but again, you can see it over there at Manchester. You can see Manchester on the map. The hatched area, the red, it's just to the south of that. That's where our property is located. Public notice requirement per the Middletown Development Code, Table 1226-1, notice requirements. Public notice was published a minimum of 30 days prior to this hearing, and as well as Planning Commission. Notice was also provided to all property owners within 200 feet of the subject property, and no comments were received about this development. Review criteria for the preliminary development plan and map amendment. 1, the proposed development is consistent with the master plan, other city plans, and purposes of the Middletown Development Code. 2, the proposed development is necessary or desirable because of changing conditions, new planning concepts, or other social or economic conditions. 3, the proposed development will not be detrimental to present and potential surrounding uses, but will have a beneficial effect. 4, the proposed development will promote the public health, safety, and general welfare. 5, the proposed development is not likely to result in significant adverse impacts upon the natural environment, such impacts will be mitigated. 6, the preliminary development plan has been transmitted to other required developments for review. And it has been transmitted to our different development, our internal development group. We meet biweekly, and this was shown to them. So last slide, yep. Planning Commission recommendation. On Wednesday, June 9th, 2021, the Planning Commission voted to approve the map amendment and preliminary development plan proposing a gas station at the property located at the southwest corner of Manchester and Dixie Road with the following conditions. Landscaping plan be submitted that shows adequate screening provided for surrounding residential properties, a traffic study be submitted and approved by the engineering department, and that the engineering department design manual comments are met. If approved as a part of the plan development process, the property would be rezoned to PD plan development to acknowledge that there is a development plan associated with the property. That
I want to
concludes.
note for the record that the current slide is not part of this public hearing. It's the next one, just so this is not the correct slide, correct?
This is
Yeah,
the correct.
looks like the slides just got backwards.
It's got
It's
21
referenced regular.
three-story residential buildings on it.
Oh,
But-
that's weird. So I printed from the PowerPoint. Okay.
Just wanted to, so
Well,
there's no
thank you.
confusion in the audience when we're,
Yeah, that's weird. Okay. That concludes my staff report. I know that the applicant is here tonight, so happy to answer any questions.
I just had a question on the, it's R2, which we have very little of left, which is more of our high-end home. The staff report indicated that it probably wasn't suitable for residential, so I guess I'm just curious the reasoning why it wouldn't be suitable.
The reason the Planning Commission did not, take into account that a residential property would be here is because of the high-traffic intersection and the shape of the corner of the lot there. That was basically why they did not think that residential, just because it's a very high-traffic area, and that's why they also added the traffic impact study be approved.
the reference to the master plan, I'm going to assume that's the current draft version of a master plan?
That is
or
the 2005. I mean, this will still be identified as a gateway into the community that should be held to a higher standard.
Okay, so the comments about the master plan are projected to be the same?
Yes, for this in particular property, but we have to refer to our current adopted one, so 2005 was in there.
Did Planning Commission at all discuss that UDF owns the parcel kind of catty corner, so they potentially would have 3 gas stations on 4 corners?
They did not.
Okay.
Which property is that?
It would be, it's almost off of the slide. It's to the top right across from Speedway.
Is that in the city of Middletown? UDF-owned lot?
That is in the city of Middletown, yes.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
Just Speedway is carved out.
And how is that UDF zoned?
It is business. There is a car lot there currently. But I mean, that would be something that Planning Commission would need to take into account. We most likely would not approve 4 gas stations there. I've also had inquiries about the property across from this on South Dixie Highway as well.
I assume that the owners of both properties were part of the notification.
Yes, of course, yeah. All owners within 200 feet, yes.
So UDF was notified of this and?
Oh, yes.
Response.
Yes, they were.
Okay, with no other comments from council, then we'll open the floor up for anyone, we'll start the public hearing. Anyone who has comments in favor of the proposed plan development, I would welcome you to come up to the dais and speak at this time. Okay, if we have no comments in favor of, then we'll take any comments in opposition to the proposed development, if you want to come up at this time and speak at the dais. Okay, Okay, with that being said, we'll close the public hearing. And we will start a new public hearing for the plan development map amendment request for Innovation Way Apartments at 4340 Union Road. Welcome back.
Okay, so most likely at the end of this one, hopefully the planning commission recommendation is correct. All right, so this public hearing is for a plan development with the zoning map amendment, a request by applicant Austin Carmody with Kendall Property Group for preliminary development plan approval for an apartment development that proposes 21 three-story residential buildings, clubhouse, pool, outdoor recreation area, walking paths to be constructed on a portion, 38 acres, of the property located at 4340 Union Road. If approved as a part of the plan development process, the property would be rezoned PD, plan development, to acknowledge that there is a development plan associated with the property. So as you can see, this is the properties, the photos right there were taken at the end of Innovation Way. Next. So this is a map of the property. Per the Warren County Auditor, the property is a total of 126.46 acres. However, this property, again, as I just mentioned, would be 38 acres. Next slide. So my slides are a little bit different. Okay. The site is positioned in the East End, which is an emerging employment district with attractive office, high-tech, industrial, and medical uses. The development plan will provide housing to the district and will be an amenity to the employees who work there, and will also be the first luxury multifamily development in the area. The goal of the project is to create a vibrant place to live, work, and play, meet the needs of residents, enhance the existing community, and assist with the future development and investment in the city. If approved, construction is proposed to commence in fall of 2021 and completion early as 2024, with the first units being delivered fall of 2022. Again, that map just showed the dashed area. Apartment buildings are principally permitted in the BCF Business Center Flex zoning district. Multiple buildings on one lot requires approval through the development plan process. The development proposes, again, 21 three-story residential buildings, a total of 319 units. The plan also includes a clubhouse, pool deck, grilling area, and walking path to take into account the overlook area. The design takes advantage of the topography and existing woods. One-bedroom units range in size from approximately 560 to 810 square feet. Two bedrooms range from 950 to 1,200 square feet, and three bedrooms range from 1,200 to 1,400 square feet. All multifamily dwellings shall have a minimum of 500 square feet per the Middletown Development Code. The rentals will be market rate. The unit mix is 34% would be one bedrooms, 50% two bedrooms, and 16% would be three bedrooms. That's the site plan. Next slide. Okay. There are a total of 516 surface parking spaces provided. The total meets the Development Code parking requirement of 1.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit for multifamily dwellings. Proposed elevation. Primary building materials are brick and hardy board, which are both Development Code compliant. They exceed our standards. These are example project photos that were given to us to show and give us a feel of what this project might look like. Middletown Master Plan. Per the 2005 Master Plan, the subject property is included in the Renaissance Development Opportunity Area. The Master Plan identifies mixed-use residential being planned on the subject property. Public notice. Per Middletown Development Code, Table 1226-1, notice requirements. Public notice was published a minimum of 30 days prior to this hearing, as well as our Planning Commission meeting. Notice was also provided to all property owners within 200 feet of this property, and no comments were received or have been received at this time. So I had already read, I won't read it again, but it's the same review criteria as the previous for a preliminary and zoning map amendment. So that's the last one, so it looks like they've gotten switched. Planning Commission recommendation. On Wednesday, June 9th, 2021, the Planning Commission voted to approve the map amendment and preliminary development plan proposing 21 three-story residential buildings, clubhouse, pool, outdoor recreation area, and walking paths to be constructed on a portion, 38 acres, of the property located at 4340 Union Road. If approved as a part of the plan development process, the property would be rezoned to PD, Plan Development District, to acknowledge that there is a plan development associated with this property. As I mentioned, for the last one, we do have the applicants here, so from Kendall Group. So if you have any extra questions, they would be happy to answer those as well.
Which school district does this fall into?
That I'm not sure.
I believe it'd be Franklin. Is there a TIF involved? I didn't see,
I do not believe so.
There is not.
and it's not in the existing TIF.
I'm happy to see the higher percentage of 2 and 3 bedroom personally. I think that's a good fit for that area.
I also noticed high-end appliances and granite countertops and those sort of things that, I think bring that, level of rental rate up to where we're looking for.
Is there any consideration, especially as the project extends into 2024, consider owner-occupied in part of these buildings? I know I brought this up before, and use the example of when I lived in DC, and they kind of would build these buildings and say, hey, maybe this half would be owner-occupied and this could be rental. Seeing where the market is, but also knowing, as I think we're all aware of, just the larger amount of rental units that we have potentially coming on board, and I think our general desire to have some owner-occupied units. So I don't know if that's a consideration that's been discussed.
I'm sure that the applicant would be happy to answer that.
Okay. Come on down. It's like the price is right.
From the city's perspective, I mean, just one comment to you, Ms. Combs, Mr. Palanick, too. The development of this is a multifamily rental. It does seem to be putting residential on a bit of an island where there is no retail to support it. There's no place to go out and have dinner, lunch. It's going to be relying on vehicular transportation to across 75, and to me, I don't know, it seems like sort of Back to the Future. It's like a 1970s development where you're relying on a car, and it's not the walkable communities that we're looking for. So I don't, standalone, I just, that gives me pause that we're not putting together which would be a comprehensive plan for the area that would include services that people want, walkability, et cetera.
What are the zoning restrictions for the areas surrounding it immediately? I think there was a bigger map there we could have a look at.
Should be the first.
Is that what you were referencing?
Yes. So is there potential for commercial developments surrounding that property?
There is. That zoning district would allow for commercial uses there, as well as high-tech industrial, like the research center. Not industrials, and you think warehouse, but
Right.
research center.
I mean, I do see potential for people to be able to walk or have a very, very short commute to work, given maybe that high-tech kind of corridor. Also, the proximity to 75, I definitely see a lot of benefit to that. I think Mr. Mulligan has a good point about we definitely want to build a community where people want to live, and obviously a pedestrian lifestyle is very nice to have. Is that YMCA a public, can people get public memberships to that? I know a lot of people who are having medical treatments at Atrium use it, but I believe it's public as well, right? So that is a good amenity that's very nearby. Any other comments from council at this time? I did have one more about the master plan. I know at the last city council meeting, there were hopes to have the master plan or something sent imminently-ish, like in the next.
Should be this
the next
week.
30 days?
This
Okay.
week.
Okay,
Because
'cause
it
that,
was 2 weeks from about our last meeting, so I'm expecting it by Friday.
Okay, sounds
I've already
good.
put a bug in their ear. I'm ready for it.
that plays into, of course, all of these different moving pieces, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we will open the floor for any comments in favor of the plan development amendment. If you would like to make any comments in favor of, please come on up to the dais and you can speak your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Austin Carmody, 9512 Holiday Circle, Indianapolis, Indiana. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak with you today. We've done our research, we've worked hard, and have identified this site over 6 months and put together a development plan, and we're very confident that this development has been designed to fulfill the nature of a 38-acre site. We've done at Kendall Property Group, we're on our 12th development of this nature in similar areas, city size, close to hospitals, proximity to retail. And Ashley covered the details of the development in the staff report, so I won't dive through those, but we are here in support, and if there's any questions, I'm here to answer.
Mr. Troy, did you want to?
I guess just a question about considering the owner-occupied or a hybrid model, if, you can see over the course of the 2-year build-out in the market and what may or may not.
Yeah, so I don't want to oversimplify it for you, but the answer is we're rental apartment developers, and mixing owner-occupied and rentals hard for a variety of reasons, particularly with lateral, but I don't want to go into all that. It's just, that's what we don't do that. We're not owner-occupied developers. Okay. We're for rent and renter by choice developers and people that live in our communities.
What do you anticipate the rents will be for the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom?
So we're $930 to $1,170 on a 1-bedroom, $1,285 to $1,435 on a 2-bedroom, $1,480 to $1,650 on a 3-bedroom.
I guess one of the big questions with the rental rates too is, so you've been doing these developments for a long time. Some of your older developments, are those rental rates holding up with the, I guess the infrastructure that you're putting in? Like when you use these high-end fixtures and you call it luxury, is it still luxury in 5 years? Is it, I think that's one of the concerns is that, how much are you putting in on the front so that those rental rates hold up over time?
Yeah, they are holding up and they're going up. We experience a lot of rent growth, and there are differences, and markets are different from market to market. But I think just in the Dayton, Cincinnati MSA, I just read it's about 4.5% last quarter. So, and yes, and then first of all, you build to quality, and then from that standpoint, you reserve capital as you go and maintain the property over the years going forward.
And do you work specifically with a management company, or is that wrapped in with it?
Yeah, so Kendall Property Group, we're a full-service real estate company, build, develop, own, asset management, and all of our properties are managed by Village Green.
Okay.
Where's the closest property that you have currently? Like as an example.
I'd say Alexandria, Kentucky is under construction.
Okay.
So south Cincinnati MSA.
Okay.
And Kentucky.
And is that a similar size?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. These are all institutional quality developments, 200, 300 units.
And that's
Drew,
still,
to Middletown. Why Middletown? You're coming a little far out of your comfort zone here.
Well, we're really not. I mean, I understand what you're saying. We're looking for South Cincinnati is where we've got several properties, and this would put us in the North Cincinnati, South Dayton MSA. We know that Dayton and Cincinnati are growing together, and then this site rings the bells from proximity to services, I-75 access, and then of course the employment districts in the area.
Thank you. Any other questions from council?
Thanks.
Do we have any other comments in favor of the proposed map amendment? Okay, with that, we'll open the floor for any comments in opposition to. Okay, with that, we will close the public hearing. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. And we will move on to citizen comments. We have a good stack of them this evening. I have 1, 2, 3, I have 4 of them. So we'll start with Mr. Andrew Turner. And I'll remind everyone, come on up to the dais, Mr. Turner, and we'll just ask your name and address for the record. And we have a 3-minute speaking limit. We'll try to keep everybody to that as best as possible. We appreciate you and all of your time.
I gotta put my glasses on at that age. My name's Andrew Turner. My address is 124 Songbird Court, Monroe, Ohio, 45050. I'm a firefighter with the City of Middletown, representing the Middletown Firefighters Local 336, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about the importance of voting to put the firehouse levy on the ballot and the direct impact of the health, welfare, morale of our department, and to give a perspective as a firefighter. I've been a member with the fire department since 2000. A third of my life I stay at 307 North Clinton Street, otherwise known as Station 81. The stations that our bravest run out of are less than adequate for today's standards. I'll give some specific items, but a lot of them are universal problems. Fire Station 81 was built in 1956. In the past 75 years, information has been that's come in through cancer prevention that makes this station in need of replacement. Firefighters' gear and firefighters themselves need to be as far away from diesel exhaust and fire trucks, and the living quarters need to be as far away from toxins from our gear and running machines. Our Station 2 was taken over with the annexation of Franklin Township and placed as a temporary station in 1997. It was designed for volunteer firefighters, not to accommodate firefighters living in a location for 24 hours. There's only one shower for 3 individuals. Again, in reference to our cancer, we've implemented a policy that we found through research that once we have a fire, we try to get back and wash our toxins off as quickly as possible. With one shower, it makes it difficult to do that. You have to realize that we're trying to do that before we go out and make additional emergency calls. Beyond the vast numbers of upgrades that are needed at all stations, there's also a need to have 4 firefighters that will be adequate for our female firefighters. When these stations were built, there was no emphasis on today's world of having adequate facilities for our women firefighters. Looking at the City of Middletown with our next hiring process, there are 5 female candidates. That's roughly 20% of our current candidates pool. If one or all of these women were hired, we have 2 stations right now that do not have separate showers, separate bedrooms, or even separate bathrooms. We as a city have always proudly shown our citizens that we embrace and welcome diversity in our fire department or in our city departments. We need to provide adequate living area for women firefighters for today as well as for our future employees. I want to make it clear that the union appreciates what Chief Lally and Assistant Chief Snively have done during their tenure to make the best of what we have. The administration has been very good with their money and stretched every penny possible. It just can't be stretched anymore. Since 2000, I've witnessed the fire department risk life and safety to serve and protect our citizens.
I'm sorry to have to cut you off. That is 3 minutes, and that is the rule that I have to do.
I guess I'll finish up. I just stop.
Yes, I know. It's a terrible rule, but it's
Okay.
a rule, and I have to abide by it, or I can't ever hold anyone else by the same rule. I
If I
appreciate.
walk away, I'll just say, we have a unique opportunity to give the residents the opportunity to put this on the ballot and continue the good relationship that we have as firefighters and community.
Well done.
That was the best exit from the dais I have seen. Thank you. The next citizen comment I have is from Mr. Rick Fish. I can't read the end.
Fishbaugh.
Fishbaugh. Thank you. That's a G. Thank you.
I'm Rick Fishbaugh. I live at 2780 Arbor Point Drive here in Middletown. I'm retired from Fishbaugh Homes, and I am currently the Vice President of the Senior Center. A couple items I'd like to talk about this evening. First, I've talked with Chief Lally and with Monica Nenny, Councilwoman Monica Nenny, and that concerns the existing buildings after the new construction is completed. I work with as the chairman of the co-chair of the facility committee for Middletown City Schools when we did the elementaries, the high school, and middle school. And the one thing we got back from community feedback was that everyone wanted the old buildings after they were no longer in use demolished. And I'd like to see that the fire stations that are currently, as we vacate those, that all of those buildings would be demolished. The second item was a little more of a problem, which is the 25-year tax abatement. I know that we're the highest property tax, effective property tax in Butler County, and that's always a problem for us. But I know this won't add to the property tax, but I think a 25-year levy is a little bit beyond what we should look for. I think there should be other ways to finance this at a reduced price. I'll actually be, when this levy goes away, I'll be 96 years old if I'm still here. So it's not just taxing us, but we're taxing our children and our children's children. And those are the two things I had. On the buildings, as far as tearing them down, we can look at some of the things where ARMCO tore down the old corporate offices on Curtis Street. When it doesn't happen, we can look at the paperboard box facility and what we have to deal with that. A lot of these buildings are specialty use buildings. They have, just like as the gentleman who spoke before, they have problems with those buildings, and try to give them those new owners is just going to move the problems down the line. If they don't sell, they become eyesores and points for people to get into, and we have the same problems we had at Box Pine. So I am also the grandson of a former fire chief, Ouija Fishball, who was fire chief in the 50s and 60s. Most of the buildings that are still in use in town were built during his reign as fire chief, and so I support the firemen, and I like to see the things, but I'd like to see the council see if we can't look at other ways, maybe we can get some grants or something to cut down on the financing. 25 years is a pretty long time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next citizen comment we have is Dora Bronston.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, our City Manager. I'm Dora Bronston, 4817 Earl Avenue here in Middletown. I stand here to support resolution number R2021-29 for the fire levy. We all know that I've been on council before, and I visited many of our fire stations. I support our police and fire. These guys put their lives on the line. As a matter of fact, they control and put out fires. They respond to emergencies where life, property, or the environment is at risk. They work closely with other emergency response agencies, such as police and emergency medical services. So the firefighter's role may overlap with each of those. So when they're on the scene of these fires and other emergencies, the work is very dangerous. When not on the scene of an emergency, the firefighters may remain on a call or at their fire stations where they sleep, eat, and perform other duties during shifts that often last 24 hours. Many work more than 40 hours per week, so this becomes a home to them. And so when I went to the fire stations and I saw some of the deplorable conditions in which they work and live, and I heard about the levy, I immediately wanted to support it. On the corner of Braille, right there at Central, we went in there on many occasions. I've been there. I used to go eat lunch with our firefighters. The corner is dangerous in and of itself. And finally, after some complaints a couple of years ago with the last election, we complained about the openness of the building where there were no barriers to protect the firemen in their bedroom. There have been many accidents there and other incidents, and so I see that our voices were heard, and we did erect some of those barriers out front to protect them. There are not sufficient accommodations for women, and me being a female and knowing that we are all integrating into the mainstream with our male and female firefighters and many other things, and there needs to be accommodations for those upcoming new on the scene. I hate to say co-ed, but really that's what it's going to be like, a co-ed bathroom, unless they have their other facilities and necessary items that women use. So I'm here to support, and I'm looking at my seconds because 3 minutes is 3 minutes, And so I'm here to support that, and I'll be working with the committee to do so. And if you need to call me, please call me on my cell phone. I may or may not be in town. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we have Mr. Chris Beatty. Good evening.
Chris Batty, 128 Marymount Court, Middletown, Ohio. I'm here today to follow up on my request from last month on the proposed health freedom ordinance. Here we are, July 2021, 16 months after the first COVID lockdowns in the U.S., with reports that this new Delta variant of COVID is just as bad as the first, and they're going to require masks again, and that we are all needing to get our vaccinations. And we're actually seeing employers pushing hard, even in this very own city, for mandatory vaccinations and violating our constitutional health freedom. The stats show that nearly half of Ohioans and 52% of Cincinnati residents right now are not vaccinated and are not likely to do so in the near future. A few weeks ago, I had given my response to the city's attorney's response to the city council exercising their home rule power on this issue in the ordinance. And besides a very weak and baseless response, they ended with, and I quote, "Accordingly, unfortunately, the end is near and we can hopefully return to normal soon." So let me ask you this, is door-to-door knocking to push this experimental injection normal? Are experimental vaccination mandates normal? Is infringing on our health freedom normal? We can't wait to reactively do something. Time is of the essence. We must be proactive and stand for the freedoms that we just celebrated this past Independence Day, which was a great show, by the way, for Middletown. I like the fireworks. It's important that Middletown understands the cost that comes with allowing vaccine mandates to infiltrate every facet of our lives. Our ability to work, go to school, attend an event, our ability to shop. Does the city council really want to see more mask mandates, more social distance orders, more lockdowns, more store closings, vaccination mandates, or even passports? Do you want the residents of Middletown to know with confidence that you are doing your job to protect their health freedom, or that you'll sit there quietly while they have their freedom taken away? Do you want your message to the residents to be, we care, but we're not willing to do anything about it? Or, we care and we will stand for your health freedom and we will protect it and make it loud and clear that the city of Middletown will stand up against unconstitutional mandates and do so by issuing a freedom ordinance. You all have taken the oath to stand for and actually have the authority to put in place protections for Middletonians. I and many others have done their part to speak up and contact our representatives, including speaking at this very council here. So I'm asking you, will you do the same? I'd like to propose two things. One, that this city council shows support for House Bill 248 by making an official statement to the Ohio Health Committee and Speaker Cupp. And two, approve a freedom ordinance to the same effect, which I have already proposed about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. Over a month ago, this team said this topic would be discussed more, but I haven't heard back, so I just wanted to give you guys a chance to respond or to ask if we could have a forum about this. That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your efforts to protect our freedoms. It is much appreciated by all of the citizens of Middletown. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have council comments. I'm going to start with Mr. Mulligan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Quick comment. Thanks very much to the planners of the Ohio Challenge. I had a chance to attend that on Saturday. Tough weather conditions on Friday canceled most of the event Friday, but Saturday was an exceptional turnout as far as crowds and vendors. And again, so many volunteers go into supporting that event. I know city staff also has a hand in it, and my hat's off to everyone. So congratulations on a great event. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moon?
Yes, thank you. I'll echo Mr. Mulligan's comments about Balloon Fest, the Ohio Challenge. It's great to be back after missing a whole year. It's such a great event that brings the entire community, entire region to Middletown. So thank you to Mr. Pierce and everybody that was involved with that. Did want to give two shout-outs briefly. Mainly it's because I have two boys that are of the right age. I know Ms. Vittori's been involved in this as well, but wanted to give a shout-out to Midway Baseball, the Schwarber family, Baraka Church. My boys my oldest has done that the last two times, and that's just been incredible. If you have young kids or know young kids, please recommend that they check this out because it is really they're doing it first class. I would recommend it to anybody in the region, and it's it's being done so well. Second is obviously Safety Town. They just wrapped up another class last week, of which my 5-year-old was a part of. So kudos to Safety Council, kudos to Officer Kirby, because my son came home every night talking about Officer Kirby. So thank you to the Police Department, Safety Council, and everybody involved for continue to put on such an excellent program that is educating our children. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Vittori?
No comments, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ninny?
Well, I guess I'll make the announcement about First Friday Italian Fest then, because I know Inc. is a big part of organizing that. So that'll be First Friday in July, and it's a progressive dinner downtown that DMI puts on. So I invite everyone to come down and check out all that downtown has to offer. And I believe that next Wednesday is the last Broad Street Bash downtown. So it's a country theme and always a fun time. So thank you to those organizers for all the work that they've done over the years to invite people to come to Middletown and enjoy what we've got to offer. So I guess that's all I've got tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. This evening, I wanted to share a story about a dear friend who became a Middletown citizen. Mr. Santiago Bernal, he passed away last Thursday. He was a skydiving instructor in Colombia, and he wanted nothing more than to be an American citizen. And he decided when he met his wife in Colombia, well, they got married in America eventually, but that he wanted to move to the United States. And he found a skydiving job in Las Vegas, of all places. He said, I'll do anything it takes. He went to America very quickly, found a job, and he worked in Las Vegas before his wife could join him. And he said, Las Vegas is not for me. People are greedy with money, and it's just not for me. And he found a home here in Middletown, Ohio. He moved here to this community because this was the United States of America to him. This community was exactly what he was looking for in our country. And once he found this community, he brought his soon-to-be wife up, and they were married here. She got her law degree. She transferred it over from Columbia to here. She's currently in the process. She's a legal permanent resident. She's going to get her citizenship. He died of natural causes, but he found Middletown home. And his family is here from Colombia, from the Philippines, to celebrate his life. And they are just floored with the community that they found here and that their son found here. And they are in tears from having witnessed this community. So they're here right now in town, and we did a great celebration of life for him today. And I just wanted to share that story with you all because Middletown is home to so many people of different walks of life, and what a great experience to share that community with people and have them call Middletown home as well. So that's all my comments for this evening. Mr. Palnick, that brings us to the city manager report.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of City Council, I wanted to note that with our Parks Master Plan update, we have reached the third and real final phase. That is, it's sort of in that final draft form in terms of documenting that next 10-year vision that we would like at this point to get any final comments or input from the public or council or anyone else. So it's going to be available now on the city website. So we would just ask that people take a final last look because this is sort of the last opportunity to really make changes to it. And we would love to then get that final draft forward and ultimately move it forward for a process of approval. So I would just point out to everybody, please take a look at that final draft. There is a link on the city's website to do so. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Skank, will you please present the consent agenda for us this evening?
For consideration this evening, we have to approve the city council minutes of May 18th and July 6th, 2021. To receive and file the following board and commission minutes. The Library Board, September 15th and December 15th, 2020. The Park Board, January 11th, February 1st, March 8th, and April the 12th, 2021. The Board of Zoning Appeals, January 12th and May 5th, 2021. The Airport Commission of February 15th, March 15th, April 19th, and May 17th, 2021. The Historic Commission, March 18th, 2021. The Architecture Review Board, March the 23rd, 2021. The Middletown Visitors Bureau, April 19th and May 17th, 2021. the Planning Commission, May the 12th and June the 9th, 2021, the Board of Health, June the 8th, 2021. To confirm the personnel appointment of Gabrielle Rodriguez to the positions of Corrections Officer in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police, and Tina Blevins to the position of Administrative Assistant in the Department of Development Services. And to confirm the promotional appointment of Heather Deaton to the position of Executive Account Clerk in the Department of Finance, Division of Treasury.
I move to approve the issues and actions set forth in the consent agenda.
Second?
Ms. Gank, please call the roll.
Ms. Nenny.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Ms. Vettori.
Yes.
On the motion agenda, we have to request the approval to purchase the following sole source items totaling $204,934 for a new Freightliner chassis and service body upfit for the Water Division. A 2022 Freightliner Custom Chassis Corp MT55 from FYDA Freightliner Cincinnati, Ohio, in the amount of $66,978, and the service body upfit for the Freightliner chassis from Utilimaster of Bristol, Indiana, in the amount of $137,956.
So move for adoption.
Second?
Ms. Gank, please call the roll.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Ms. Nenny.
Yes.
Ms. Vettori.
Yes.
And lastly, to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Automated Systems Engineering, AES, to design electrical improvements for the secondary clarifier motor control center at the Water Reclamation Facility.
So move for adoption.
Second?
Ms. Gank, please call the roll.
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Ms. Vettori.
Yes.
Ms. Nenny.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Melanie, please present the legislation this evening.
Yes, Your Honor. No matters to be considered.
The microphone.
Thank you. Is that better?
Yeah.
No matters to be considered for emergency today, so we will just proceed with our normal legislation. The first matter for your consideration is ordinance number 2021-57, an ordinance authorizing a contract with Perkins Carmack Construction LLC for the design and construction of maintenance building at the Water Reclamation Facility. Here for a second reading.
So move for adoption.
Second?
Are there any comments or questions from council or city manager on this? Okay, Ms. Gank, please call the roll.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Ms. Vettori.
Yes.
Ms. Nenny.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
The second matter for your consideration this evening is Resolution R 2021-29, a resolution declaring the City Council of the City of Middletown, Ohio's intent to proceed with placing a 1 mil property tax levy on the May 2022 election ballot for the purposes of providing funding for the construction of certain fire station improvements for use by the City of Middletown Division of Fire. Here for a second reading as well.
So move for adoption.
Second?
Any comments or questions by council or city manager? Jim, can I ask you again why the May ballot and not November?
Two reasons. Traditionally, this particular 1 mil levy had appeared before on the senior center, twice on the May ballot. But the other thing was, in order, really, when we went through all the due diligence, and we've been trying to do it as quickly as we could, whether it was, just acquiring the land, doing the design work, going through the financing, getting everything in order, we just really didn't meet the deadlines. So basically tried to get it as quickly as we could, didn't meet the deadlines, and it would have had to be an emergency to do that. And obviously, once we missed that, at this point in time, we simply couldn't do it anymore.
But it
Might al-
doesn't change the funding, correct? Because if we go to November or May, it still rolls on at the same time.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Just so people know that it doesn't affect.
Well, it does affect funding because we can't get the same interest rates. Yes?
Speculative. I don't know. We're hoping that the interest rates hold, obviously. Is there a chance that they could go up some between? Yeah, sure. If
And we're talking about probably the biggest amount of money that we've ever spent, and I don't like the fact that we are saying that we missed a deadline. I pulled back up January's council strategic planning session, the slides from it. It very clearly said the deadline that we needed to meet, which is July 20th, 2021, council meeting, and then August 2nd, 2021 was the second deadline. We plan to put it on the November ballot. I have a hard time believing that one of the reasons was that it was, the senior levy was always done in May, because I know, Jim, you do your research on that, and I just feel like there's some thing underlying that perhaps there was another reason why this got pushed to May.
I would say from my perspective, we had just asked for a roads levy the year before. It's difficult to come back and ask for a levy right away again. So I think it makes sense to wait. Gives the city more time to get educated.
I'm just curious if you're suggesting that there's some other reason.
I'm just wondering, because there's a lot of rumors flying around, and I just want to ask if there was another reason, that's all. I just don't if we need to do it, we need to do it. I don't know why we're waiting. That's.
To that end, we did make an effort to do a series of frequently asked questions, and I believe that Shelby had distributed those, and we tried to answer quite a number of those things that we expected people would be asking, and that actually was one of the questions on here. So we did respond to that, and basically, essentially what I had said was indicated on there as well.
Jim, I have a separate question also relating to the financing in response to Mr. Fishball's comments. With that 25-year, is that something that can be paid off sooner? Have we the opportunity to come into grants or money that can pay that down sooner, or we've got surpluses in the budget that's something that we can allocate towards paying that down sooner, or is that something that would happen? I'm just curious if that is how that would factor into the financing.
There certainly would exist that opportunity in the future. But going in up front, obviously, the bond council looks at that, and we have to be very conservative when we're estimating the amount of revenues that will be generated. So we can't be too aggressive on suggesting increases in property taxes. So we were very, very conservative. So their belief, when you look at what you have to cover in terms of the actual cost of the principal and debt repayment and having a bond reserve and paying cost of issuances, really looks like 25 years. But having said that, for instance, if we see property taxes go up significantly in terms of the value in the first 5 or 10 or 15 years, then clearly it may produce a good deal more revenue than we anticipate, and it could be paid off early, and then decisions could be made. Further, you could, as a council, a future council, make other decisions to decide to pay it off early. What typically happens with these kinds of bonds that are issued, there's a set number of years that you can't call them, as they say, but usually that isn't beyond 10 years. So if once you get past 10 years, they're oftentimes callable, which means you can refund them, pay them off, et cetera. That's why oftentimes we do refinance them as well. So the same way that we could refinance it, there could be other reasons that you could pay it off. But at this point in time, we have to tell the public, obviously, the belief is, and we're asking for 25 years, because that's what we think it'll take today to repay it.
Does the levy include, to that end, the demolition of the previous firehouses or any aspect of that?
It does not.
Is there a potential, should we have an increase in funds based on interest rates or an increase in property tax values, that it would potentially fall under that use?
The levy is dedicated exclusively to pay for improvements to fire stations or apparatus, capital improvements. So it may be a stretch to say that the cost of demolishing the old ones would be included under that, but I don't know for certain. That would be a question for the lawyers.
And if we owned these properties, they are still city-owned properties even after we move on to new firehouses. And if there were, say, a development opportunity for that property that didn't include the physical building, we could at that point address demolition as a way to create that new development opportunity at that time.
Yeah, without question. I think we're simply saying at this point, we don't have a specific need for the city for these locations. So we would just as soon they go back to the private sector, they become viable, tax-producing developments. Hopefully in that process, they're either someone comes up with a really good adaptive reuse for the buildings, or if they're functionally obsolete, that they do get demolished. Whether we assist in that process or not, all yet to be determined.
And I would add to Mr. Fishball's point, I think there are some state funds that will be coming available through the Butler County Land Bank to demolish commercial structures. So stay tuned for that.
I feel frustrated as a community and a taxpayer in Middletown that the city has ever gotten to the point where we are having to ask our citizens to pay for a basic service that I believe a city should be providing to its citizens, which is fire and EMS. And I know none of us really have been involved in the decisions over the last 25 years. However, we've gotten to this point, and I feel like we are in a point where we don't have a lot of decision. We don't have the funds, and these firefighters need to provide these services to our citizens. It's critical. I wish we would make different decisions on a regular basis instead of giving properties away or paying for private security for a few different businesses or targeting local businesses at the bequest of certain citizens who consider themselves privileged. There's a lot of bad decisions that have been made in our city in the past that have spent money in ways that I feel like they shouldn't have been spent. And I would have loved to see them spent in a better way, to the point where we don't have to put something on the ballot like this, because I feel like our citizens deserve better, and I hope that we make good decisions moving forward. And I know we want to, and we want to do that. And we, as a city, I pledge to do that, and I think my fellow council members, I hope they would also pledge to do the same. It's not something we want to do.
Mayor, I think that's why we put it on the ballot, right? To allow the citizens to make that decision if they so choose.
Sure, but should we ever have to get to that point?
Here we are.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
The next matter for your consideration is ordinance number O-2021-58, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a small business grant agreement with Access Envelope Incorporated, here for a second reading.
So move for adoption.
Second.
Any comments or questions from council or city manager? Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Item number 4 is ordinance number O-2021-59, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with the Ohio Department of Transportation, for the 2022 urban paving on the project on the portion of State Route 4 from Titus Avenue to Germantown Road, here for a second reading.
So move for adoption.
Second?
Any comments or questions from council or city manager? Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Item number 5 is ordinance number O-2021-60, an ordinance vacating a portion of the public right-of-way located between the properties at 430 and 431 Kenridge Drive, here for a second reading.
So move for adoption.
Second.
Any comments or questions from council or city manager? Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Next item is ordinance number O-2021-61, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing an extension of a contract with MedAccount Management Incorporated for EMS billing services, here for a second reading.
So move for adoption.
Second.
Any comments or questions from council or city manager? Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Item number 7 is Resolution R 2021-30, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration for the Airport Rescue Grant Program and declaring an emergency. However, no action is requested until August the 3rd.
Mr. Palaniuk, did you want to speak to this?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of council, the American Rescue Plan Act, in addition to providing entitlement funding to communities, also has a series of sort of specialty areas where they're giving additional grants. One of those are for airports, general aviation airports in this case. So without any requirement for a local match, the city is eligible to receive $32,000 from the Federal Aviation Administration through the ARPA program. This would be for the 2021 program year of ARPA funding that they have. We can use that for a variety of operational needs, including debt service. So in this case, it basically just simply helps against our general fund budget. So all we have to do is simply approve and accept the $32,000 from the federal government. And again, there is no match required.
Any comments or questions before we move on?
Item number 8 is ordinance O 2021-62, an ordinance approving a request to rezone one parcel located at the southwest corner of Manchester Road and Dixie Highway from R2 Low Density Residential to PD Plan Development and approving a preliminary development plan here for a first reading.
Mr. Palanick.
This item, as is the other one, was covered earlier in our public hearings, so we would be available to answer any and all questions that you may have with regard to these projects.
Any further comments from council at this time?
Mr. Palanick, I'm just curious. I noticed that Chriselle wasn't here, but I was just a little bit curious if she had any comments about the potential development conflict with the United Dairy Farmers owning an adjacent property. I just was curious from a development standpoint if she had any anything to add to that.
I don't want to try to speak on
If
her
she
behalf.
does, not
Yeah,
anything that you have to answer now, but if
Yeah, I think
ask
on
her.
behalf of staff or on behalf of myself, I think I'm a big proponent of the market economy. It's sort of first come, first served, which means that, the person who comes in first that finds a way to make something happen, then it's the next person that deals with that issue. And to my knowledge, the folks that have the UDF property have never, approached the city at this point in time ever suggesting that they're actually going to do a gas station there. So, we deal with that which comes in. This applicant has provided this request, and I think you look at it independent of what may come after that.
And my only other comment was that I appreciated Plant Commission's recommendations to create buffers for the neighborhood and really make sure that that is an improved gateway. I think that speaks to sort of the economies you were just addressing. So that was my only other comment. Thank you.
The last matter this evening is ordinance number O 2021-63, an ordinance approving a request to rezone 39.6 acres, one parcel located at 4340 Union Road, Franklin, Ohio 45005, from BCF Business Center Flex to PD Plan Development and approving preliminary development plan here for a first reading.
Mr. Palanick, do you have anything to add to this one?
Again, if there are any specific questions, we would be more than happy to respond, but I think Ashley had presented the information as part of the public hearing.
Any other comments or questions from council? Okay, with that, we'll move to new business. Do we have any topics to discuss for new business? Okay. Then we have a request to move to an executive session this evening, after which we would adjourn until, I'll come up with that date before we adjourn. August the 3rd, Amy's got it. Under the authority of ORC 121.22G1 to consider the appointment, employment dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. Do we have a motion to move to executive session?
So move for adoption.
Second?
Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes?
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes. With that, we will adjourn, and we will come back into session on August the 3rd at 5:30 p.m. here in council chambers. Until then, blue skies over Middletown.